Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sunbridge Stories. We've talked in the past actually of the fire, and we are going to touch on that. But the main theme, the main headline for this episode is to do with God's provision. It's great to have Andrew Parker with us. So Andrew, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Andrew and Christine were members of Sunbridge for a long time. Andrew was in the past was our treasurer, and it's just great to have you back. But Andrew's going to share a little bit about the fire. And also, though, going on from that, just how God has provided for us as a church. So, Andrew, over to you. It's good to see you, though.
Thank you. Well, really, we could head it up as the Great Fire. This is in our book, 100 Not Out of the Church. And before I actually start to talk about the fire, then I'd like to just share this verse from Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 5. And this is what it says. This is headed up in a chapter in the book. The Lord your God turned the curse into a blessing because the Lord your God loved you. And I think that's a lovely promise in a way. And this is a real story. This is about a true event that happened. It was a turning point in our history as a church and gave us positive proof that God's hand was upon everything that we were doing, and we looked to him to guide us. It was happened to be in the summer of 1969. The congregation was rapidly increasing and we nearly need to look for a new place to worship. And due to the nature of our premises, a combination of cottages and sort of a bit of a ramshackle really, we really need to either drop the site or move elsewhere. Visited several churches to get a bit of an idea what was going on, but nothing really happened. And then on the 8th of November 1969, there was the usual meetings in church on Friday night, and the youth had their meeting too. And after they all left, in the early hours of Saturday morning, the 8th of November, Miss Brannigan, now she must have had a shop over the road, and she noticed there's a bit of a glow in church and thought that was a bit unusual. Anyway, she contacted the fire brigade, and they came and attended the scene. And basically what they said to her, if we'd have been 15 minutes late, the whole of the church would have gone up in flames. As it turned out, the church was set alight in 4 separate places by somebody who we don't know who did that, and now they do the Bradford CID. So obviously we had a bit of a problem, and the church was quite badly damaged in various areas. So literally the day after, the trustees met and decided, well, what should we do? Well, the first thing obviously is to assess the damage, and the second thing is to decide where the church are going to meet on Sunday. And literally, that was another day away. Anyway, because of the contacts we had in the area, we ended up at a church called Eastbrook Hall in the afternoon. So we could have our Sunday school there, and also in at Sherbridge Methodist Church, where we could worship in the day, in the morning and in the evening. So that was really, really good. And we're really blessed at that time that these people allowed us to worship in their buildings. Now, this is only the start of this project, because obviously we had to decide what to do about the church. And all the damage was assessed, and we decided to change the way our church was actually set up. So we turned all the worship area around to use the accommodation to its best capacity. And then we obviously engaged an architect. Fortunately, we had an insurance provision, so that was $11,830. So that was good, because the whole cost of renovating the current church, where it was damaged, was around about $15,000. So most of that came from the insurance company. But because we had lots of children coming through the church, we had other activities within the church, needed a hall where we could do a lot of physical activities. So we ended up with what we call our youth hall, and that was another £8,000. Now, in today's money, that's not a lot, but in 1969, that was an awful lot of money. So what happened was we ended up building a separate hall. But it's not just about the building, it's about the people who got involved. We have people who are doing the practical work who were qualified, but a lot of people volunteered to clean up the church, and also to commit financially to the project. And people came every Saturday morning after the fire to pray in the church, and that God will would help us in that time to get back to where we were. And yes, we did things structurally, but the whole thing is about God's provision. And ultimately, so I said November 8th, 1969, we came back into the church and had our opening meeting with it being fully renovated on the 16th of May 1970. Well, it's not quite as quick as when Nehemiah built the walls in Jerusalem, that was 56 days, but it's pretty quick, and everybody pulled together to make this happen. And we trusted God in all this because we didn't have the money to do this. I seem to remember, and I was only 15 at the time, that somebody from outside the church gave £1,500 because we needed that amount of money to enable us to complete the payment for the refurbishment. So that was really, really good. So we had this dedication service, and to be honest, I actually got the brochure here. This is the dedication service of the reopening in May 1970. And it's just an actual amazing thing to have. But all the dignitaries came from Bradford, and like the Lord Mayor and various other people we were in the Methodist Church at that stage, so it was somebody from the circuit came. And that was absolutely fantastic. Our God provided, and we trusted him because we wanted to reach people for Christ in this area, and we'll continue to do that. And we've been here, I think, since 1889, and we're still here. And this was just the beginning of a new chapter, really. Our church was turned around, it got more capacity, I think more people came into the church, but whatever situation we are in, God provides if you're in his will. And I'll move on to a separate section now. I've been also church treasurer, as Luke mentioned, for a while, over 30 years, and I just moved away. But it's been fantastic seeing how God moves in people's hearts and lives when you explain that we've got a bit of a financial issue, or can we have some help doing this. God does amazing things, and I'll just tell you a couple of stories about what happened. I just taken over as treasurer, and the previous treasurer gave me an envelope, and I think he had it in the drawer for about a month, I think. And we just agreed to appoint some family workers and to our church, and he gave me this envelope. I looked in, and to my astonishment, there was a cheque for £25,000. And I thought, that is absolutely fantastic. And it was a lady who died in the church, but we didn't have the money to get these people, to engage these people. But we trusted God that it was his will to bring these people into church to help the pastoral team. And then a couple of years later, this lady's sister died, and she left £50,000 to the church. Now, these weren't key workers in the church. These were two ladies who came, they attended, they liked the worship. They were really, as Jesus says, those who have, in personality and skills, those who have had little will be great in the end, and those who are great will have little, because they focused on the kingdom of God. And then a few years later, we needed a minibus for the youth work, and 3 people in church between them gave £10,000 so we could have this minibus to bus children down to church. And I think that's fantastic, but it's not about the big money. It's all about people being faithful, and our foundation as the church has been laid down with people giving, literally, some of them, out of their poverty. And it reminds me of that story of the widow's mite, when she gave all that she had. She had the 2 mites, and she gave everything that she had to the Lord. So God blessed us through people's giving, and we've not really been a rich church as such. I mean, historically, we're in a very socially deprived area of Bradford. Now, that has changed where most people come in, but we've never had lots of reserves to work through. And I believe that God has always honoured us when people have given in his timing, really. We don't have massive reserves, but God somehow, when he leads us to a different ministry, he provides. And that's a lovely way in which it encourages so much in our faith when God provides, doesn't it? And He doesn't just provide the money, He provides volunteers. He's brought people in who are professionals to help with our current building project, which, by the way, is £3 million. So sometimes things are really hard, but God sees us through those situations. And I see the new building projects as a bit of a parallel between what we've just mentioned with the fire and the rebuild after that. But the secret of how God leads us is that we've been close to Him, not being willing to compromise the truth and allow Him to lead us and direct us, but just like Abraham did so many years ago, be willing to trust in Him and be led by Him. And we have not made it as a church, but we are on a journey, and these thoughts of mine are just a glimpse of His leading over time. Thank you very much.
Amen. Andrew, thank you. Nothing more to add, apart from to say, praise God for His provision. Thanks again for tuning in. We know that God is our Jehovah Jireh. He does provide. And Andrew, thank you again. And thank you for all your service here over the years, and how God's used you and Christine over the years very powerfully, and how He continues to use you over in Lancaster.
Thank you.
But it's great to have you here. Thanks again, folks. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.